Hello, hola, bienvenidos. As you guys can see from the title, today we're doing another video of my pans in my collection. This is something that I started, I think when the pandemic started. I wanted to share with you guys all the pans that I have hit. So I do this every so many months, like probably like 5-6 months. I just rack up as much as I can. I try to do over 10 products, like 10 products at least. And if I can get more, then that's awesome. But I have a nice basket full of things that I want to share with you guys. Mainly are eyeshadows. There are other things thrown in here. As you guys know, I hit mainly pans on eyeshadows, and then everything else I try to finish, but sometimes some things just drag a little bit in my collection. So if that's something that interests you, stay tuned. But first, if you're new, hello. Alejandra, I go by Alex. Eyeshadow enthusiast with a dash per Japan. If that is something you want to continue to see on your feed, subscribe and join us. And now let's get on with all the pans. Okay, now I'm not going to go in any particular order. I just have them all here. We're just going to go ahead and get started. I keep a list going so then I don't repeat myself, and you guys already have a list going for the next video coming because I had to cut this one off at some point. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun hitting pan and seeing the pan in my collection. I don't know how much pan I have so far because some pans I have finished off. Oh, and by the way, if you're interested in this eye look, I did a whole palette bingo using a new palette and it came out really, really pretty. I think a lot of you guys like it. And I didn't want to wear lashes today because it is raining out, trying to wash out all the pollen, which is very exciting, even though I'm okay. I'm okay. Anyway, let's get into the pan, shall we? The first pan that I have comes from my Z palette full of Makeup Geek singles. This is Shimma Shimma. You guys can see there is a pan in there. Oh, such a shame that she ran out of business, you guys. Such a shame. I have almost every single one of her singles, so I'm not upset about it. I have plenty to keep me occupied and remember her brand for years to come. So this is my first pan I have of this video. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This is my Lorac palette. I have quite a bit of pan on here, but my newest pan in here is the shade Nude. Can you see that right there? Yes, you can. This is the first pan that I have on the bottom row as far as the shimmers go. I eventually want to finish off this palette. I don't know when, but this is my most used and loved palette that I have in my collection. So yeah, very excited that I got another pan in this one. Up next is a Profusion Emerald. You guys can see I already had one pan, but now I have a new pan in here. Guys can clearly see that. Some of these pans you've already seen in my makeup rehab. Some of them you have not. And if you don't watch that series, this is all new to you. Up next is the Too Faced Chocolat Bar. This one was hard to hit pan on. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but I hit pan on this shade right here. And since then I have put down this palette. It's just been, this palette is really hard to hit pan on and it's discontinued. But still, for the years that I've had this one, goodness gracious, it's still going strong. It's going to take me a while. Another Z palette where I hit another pan. This is a ColourPop Z palette. I don't know what this one was called, but I ended up hitting pan in this glitter shade, and I ended up using that on my nails. Very pretty on my nails with a navy blue nail polish. Very, very pretty. So I hit pan on that shade. Violet Vost Fruit Sorbet. I already had a pan in here, and then I got a second one right over here. So now this palette has two pans in it. Very exciting. The Ciate Pretty Fun and Fearless palette. This one has been showcased recently in quite a few videos. So this is the shade that I recently hit pan on. I already had pan in this one, so now I have a second one in here. Very pretty. I told you guys my thoughts on this palette in my latest ranking video. Up next, I'm so happy that I keep pulling this one out because I really do like this palette. So I've already had one pan in it and I got a second one in here. Let me try not to blind you with the mirrors. But it is that shade right up here, the white one. Can you guys see that pan? I don't know if the camera will catch it or not, but it is that white. There it is right there. The white shade in the center top row. I hit pan on that one. That is my second shade that I have hit pan on that palette. This palette's so happy. This is the Book of Magic palette. This is one of my newest palettes of at the end of 2021. And I already have pan on it in this year, and that is this shade right over here. I ended up having that in my Pan Those eyeshadows, and I ended up getting pan on that. So exciting and shockingly, because I didn't expect to get pan on that. Last palette that I have is my Nomad Antilles palette. This has been discontinued, but I'm so glad that I do have pan in that one, and it's a really nice pan in there. Very pretty palette. Really liked the whole entire time I used this one. All right, 3 more. This is a quad. I have pan in one shade in here, which is the color Rhythm. This is called the Soundtrack by Bare Minerals. I'm trying to hit pan on a second one. We'll see how that goes. A highlighting duo, the Stila Kitten Duo. I have 2 pans right there. My intentions are to finish this highlighter sometime this year, but I wanted to share it with you guys. The 2 pans that I did hit this year in those alone. I think that is my oldest highlighter in my collection, so I do want to finish that off. And last but not least, I have another duo here. This is the color Jade, and I ended up hitting pan on the one side this year of this duo. So there you guys have it, 13 pans I have. I have another list going, and I believe I have 4 already going, and they're not all eyeshadows, you guys. I try to rotate through a lot of my makeup. I try to hit pan on my own when it comes to highlighters or blushes or things of that nature, just so then I can add it to this list. I really enjoy seeing pans in collection, and this just reminds me, even though I have a massive eyeshadow palette collection, I still have a decent amount that have pan in them. If I were to add up all my pans, I think I do have over like 30 pans in eyeshadow palettes, but it's like a fraction of the amount of eyeshadow palettes I own. So it still doesn't seem like a lot, but for me, if you would have asked me this 2-3 years ago, I barely even had an eyeshadow. I think this was the only palette that had pan in it. Only palette in my whole collection. If you were to ask me this 2-3 years ago, this was it. Everything else was still practically brand new. So this still makes me happy. It makes me happy that I'm still seeing this. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know how many pans you have hit recently. It's always fun to watch these. I love watching these videos. And thank you guys so much for continuing this pandemic panorama of palettes. I don't know what to call it, but you know what I mean. So anyway, I'll put more videos on the screen for your enjoyment. Until then, adios.